You work your whole career to get to that point. Like, all right, we're finally working with Mutt. What's he going to do? Yo, you're good.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. What? No, come back. Let us try it again.
An all-new episode of The Jeremy White Show.
Available wherever you stream.
Our next guest is a 16-time Grammy Award-winning artist, recently inducted into the Bluegrass Hall of Fame, as well. His latest record is entitled The Set. You can pick it up now wherever you get your music, of course, on CD. You can stream it, download it, pirate it, but of course you need the 180-gram vinyl. Come on, we need the vinyl of this stuff. Please welcome to the show for the first time, the one, the only, the icon, the man himself, Jerry Douglas, everybody. How's it going?
I'm good, Jeremy. Thanks for all of that. Yeah, you can get this record any way that it's possible to have one made. It's flat. It's a CD. It's streamed. It's everything. Yeah.
Isn't it pretty awesome though? I mean, this day and age, I mean, like, you know, I kind of feel like the bluegrass audience, country audience, the rock guys, like everybody still loves the physical product. I mean, like fans still want the physical copy of it.
I completely modeled this whole thing after. I wanted it to be an LP. That's how it was. That's how I looked at it from the beginning all the way through. That, you know, CDs are going out. We're going to streaming, but just happens that the old analog LPs outsold the CDs for the last couple of years. So we're back to vinyl.
Yeah. Do you take that? Do you take that into consideration when you're getting this stuff engineered and mixed? I mean, like a lot of people are going to be listening to it through their iPhone speaker, but I mean, you want it to sound good on vinyl, right?
I know. I think that I want to put in the most information possible. So in the future, you know, even though they're listening to 1/7 of what we've put down, 1/7 of what, you know, the record is, they're listening to at that level. But if you put the vinyl on a good turntable, your mind will be blown about the sound of it. But I do take into consideration about the levels and things like that, and pacing of the record, all kinds of things like that. I mean, I came into this business when records were the way people heard music, and there are rules. You know, you can't have you ever noticed that your favorite records always ended with a nice soft song? Because the closer you get to the middle of the record, the more distortion you pick up, because the faster the needle is traveling. So you want to put something nice and slow and soft and not so bombastic at the center.
Yeah. And I mean, look, when CDs came in, I mean, I've interviewed so many artists from the 80s that talk about how there's so little bass in the mix of the records because the needle would be jumping all over the place. But when CDs came out, they're like, oh, we could put as much bass as we wanted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Just don't try to make a record out of it. Yeah. I mean, you know, that's one of the reasons I started producing bluegrass records was you couldn't hear the bass. I mean, they weren't paying as much attention to the recording process then. And I wanted bluegrass music to be able to compete with anything, you know, sonically. So when I started producing records, I made sure there was bass. You could hear the bass, you know, not that the needle would jump off, but that would be okay too. I like bass.
Yeah, of course. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, like, one of my favorite records of all time is Paper Airplane. I mean, you guys worked with Mike Shipley, and talk about one of the greatest engineers of all time. And from a producer standpoint, what did you learn from Mike in that experience? I mean, like, do you still use some of those tips and tricks that you learned through that experience in your recording today, or?
Yeah, you know, Mike came in with some of his own gear that opened our eyes to, you know, a few new items that we could throw into the chain, you know.
Yeah.
And he had, you know, he had such a his way he learned was from those, you know, Jeff Emmerich and those guys. You know, you put the microphones, if you're doing a stereo miking, you put the microphones the same distance from the instrument, you know, X pattern, or, you know, for Dobro, he had these two microphones farther up in the air than I would have put him. But I went, hey, he's the engineer. I want to hear what this sounds like, and it sounded great. I mean,
well, let me ask you. I mean, like, you see how the distance of those mics, and you're like, does this guy really know what he's doing? Or
I know, but what he was doing was he was getting the mics up far enough, and he knew I had enough isolation that he could just capture my sound and not everybody else in that situation. But the sound of the instrument was finished by the time it arrived at those microphones. And he knew that. He worked on, he was, oh man, he was just so knowledgeable and had so many good stories about building the studio for Back in Black, He was hired by Mutt Lange, and then Mutt left and said, "Build me a studio, I'll be back."
It's incredible, right? I mean, yeah. But you look at the history of the records that he worked on, everything from, Pyromania to Shania's records. And I want to talk about your experience with Shania too. But I mean, like, were you kind of apprehensive? Like, okay, we got this rock guy who hasn't really engineered in like over a decade. Like, what's Alison doing, like, bringing this guy in here?
Oh, I trust Alison with that kind of thing. And I like it too. I like the idea that, we know what our sound is. We know what our sound is, and we're going to arrive at that sound. We'll see what he arrives at. What sound he arrives at, and let's see how, we'll have a little collaboration here. We'll meet in the middle, but because we feel pretty strongly about how we want it to sound, and Alison is very, very, very particular about everything. I mean, as particular as I am, and more in some cases. But we turn over every rock, and we listen to things at different levels, and it's just. There's a whole lot that goes into it. It's not just a boring studio. We just walk in and record and walk out. If it was that easy.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like an old school approach to making a record. I mean, was that sort of the experience with the set this time around? I mean, a lot of experimentation. You were able to have fun with it.
Yeah, a lot of it had happened before we got in the studio, though. When we're a band. We're out on the road, and we know what each other are thinking most of the time. And but we'd played a lot of these songs a lot, and some of them we hadn't played at all. I mean, that the fifth season that was brand new, and we wrote it the year before and then went away from it because we did it for an occasion, and then we came back to it for the record, to put it on the record, to have a recorded version of it. And I did some editing to it after it was all over. It was kind of a 15-minute song, and it needed to be 10.
Right.
Yeah.
That would have been a whole like A side of an LP back in the day.
Yeah, really. You can't put more than 18 minutes, on a side. So it was like, okay, what, we don't have anything that's 3 minutes.
So, I mean, like, so it really was kind of like a live record in a way.
It is. We sat down, and that was the point, was to make a record that people could walk away with the show. On that record. I mean, a lot of things we play live are on that record, and a couple of them are pretty old songs of mine, but they've gone through all of these different metamorphosis, and come out the other end as this completely different thing that I started out with 20 years ago. And I love the sound of the band, and I love the way they play the songs, and they're fully realized at this point. When you write a song and you record it, you don't know it. You don't really know the song. You haven't really fleshed it out that much. So after playing a song for 10 years, you should know it. And you should have taken it through a lot of personalities, and give it every shot that it deserves.
Talk a little bit about the writing process. I mean, like, what's your approach? I mean, as a dobro player, I mean, are you sitting there coming up with a melody while you're sliding around, or like what's going on there?
Yeah, I'll sit around, come up here to my studio and just sit around and just record pieces of things, just whatever. I mean, tape's cheap and hard drives are too. And so, I don't worry about running out of tape or anything like that. I just turn it on and just go.
Until your RAM speed just dips out and you lose everything you recorded.
Yeah. It's you're about to lose everything you just recorded. Stop now. And so, and so I'll do that, and then I'll come back to them and sort of lace some of them together, at different times. And a lot of times, some of these songs have just started out as just warming up my hands, just sort of just exercises. And then this exercise will morph into a tune, the first line of a tune, and then somebody else, one of the other guys will walk along behind me and play the next line, or something like that.
What is your warm-up routine? I mean, like, how do you approach it? Because as a guitar player, you're warming up your fingers, you're going up the fretboard, but I mean, what's your warm-up routine like?
My warm-up routine is just to get my hands talking to each other. It's like, just so there's no thought between the two. I mean, it's just one motion. And when I was 25, 30 years old, I just walk out on the stage. Hell, I didn't need to warm up. Now I need to warm up. So I'll play for an hour, and I'll just start out very slowly, just trying to get the best tone that I can possibly get.
Yeah.
A few notes here and there, up and down the neck, and just start out really slow, just trying to, get a good sound in your mind. And then go on from there, start moving up, slowly to where, you're playing 64th notes and things like that. And then you can back off for a little while.
Right. Talk a little bit about.
I have to warm up my hands. There's no mistaking that. No.
Yeah, you're just gonna get a cramp in the forearm as you're sliding up, like.
Yeah, or they'll just stop. They'll just quit working. I mean, my thumbs are, my 68-year-old thumbs they don't look a thing like each other, and they've been working a long time, and they hurt. They hurt. So, there's some icing at the end of the night. There's nothing more soothing or frightening than sticking both your hands into wine coolers full of ice water every night after the gig.
Yeah. And you know what?
Being a baseball pitcher.
I was going to say that story is not unique because there's so many guitarists I'll talk to, but like as soon as they get off stage, like bam, right into ice buckets. Like it's like being an athlete.
Yeah, it's like getting in that ice bath. It's the same thing. I mean, it's terrifying, it makes so much difference in how your hands feel. It takes all the inflammation out of them,
right? And
everything works better the next day. Yeah, that's for sure.
Talk a little bit about the history of the dobro. I mean, like, because we've had every guitar player, like we've had fiddle players, we've had drummers under, but you're the first actual dobro player I've ever had on the show.
Really honored.
Yeah. So for like, just for the audience who aren't necessarily familiar with, I mean, like, talk a little bit about the dobro and like explain to like what it is, because it's such an interesting particular instrument.
Yeah, there were 5 brothers that immigrated to the United States. Their last name was Dopyera, Dopyera, I think, fast spelling. But they liked Hawaiian music. There was a huge Hawaiian craze in the 1920s here in this country after one of the world expositions brought Hawaiian musicians over. And it was like, wow, where's this been? Well, it's been in Hawaii. That's why you didn't hear it. But it sort of took over the world. And so the first thing the Dopyera brothers did was go to Chicago, and they created the National Steel guitar. Those big chrome-plated bodies,
The ones that sound like SpongeBob.
Yeah, right. Right, and they're most famous for being on the front of a Dire Straits album cover.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Nationals are. And then the brothers had an argument with the fella that was running the National, and they went to California. They went to L.A. and they started building wooden bodied versions of these things with the cone actually being inverted. Instead of the cone the cone going down in the guitar and then coming up to make a bridge, the cone goes down and is concaved. It goes down, has this metal spider that sits on the top of that diaphragm, and then the bridge is in that spider. We call it a spider. It has 8 legs that make contact with the cone in the guitar, the aluminum cone. And it's just like a speaker cone, but it's got these 8 legs on it, a bridge, and all that sound is transferred down and then brought back out of the guitar. It's a kind of complicated instrument.
Yeah.
But these guys figured out they liked Hawaiian music, but they wanted it louder because they were used to hearing oompa bands. Man, everything is loud over there,
Right?
And so they made these guitars self-amplified. And about 2 years later, Charlie Christian came along and put a magnetic pickup on a guitar, made everything obsolete. But I've seen pictures of Dobro orchestras with like 130, 40 people in them, all playing brand new 1928, 1929 Dobro guitars, and that's guitar porn to me. But it most people would just look at it and go, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
But,
it's like a Dobro orchestra.
yeah, that's what it was. Must have been a pretty terrible sound.
All that metallic madness just hitting people.
Oh, God. I had a class once. I was teaching a class of 39 Dobro players, and just tuning up was enough to make you run, but after they got fairly in tune, then we could work.
What is the tuning for a Dobro? I mean, like, is it like a DADGAD type of thing, or
sort of? It's an open tuning because you're using one slide. You have your fret is the bar. And there are no stops on top of the strings. I mean, on the Dobro has frets, but you just use those as markers.
Right. So what is the distance between the string and the fret? Is it like a big distance?
But between the string and the fret, it's about I'd say half an inch. Yeah.
Wow.
Half an inch is pretty normal, pretty healthy. Yeah.
So you're getting the tone really from the tension and how much pressure you're putting down.
There's a lot of tension, and you can go too far with that. You can bring the strings up too high, and it'll make the guitar really loud, but the tone will go away. So you have to find this happy medium of the height of your strings in order to get the tone that you like and the volume that you need, And these days, with having a pickup in my guitar, I don't worry so much about playing so hard. I still do. I still play too hard, really. But the dynamics of the guitar without a volume pedal are still just, as they were before, as just, what would you call it? It's just acoustic.
Yeah.
But now we've got a pickup, and I've got an Aura pedal that I go through this Aura pedal, a Fishman Aura pedal that I designed, that has 16 different microphones in it, models. It's starting with a Neumann U67 and going all the way around. It has all the old ribbon mics, 77 RCA 77s, all the way up to including a Shure SM57, which is the simplest mic. You can pound nails with it and then speak into it. It's a great microphone, but it's not the best tone.
So wait, what's it called?
An SM57.
No, the pedal, the pedal.
Oh, it's a Fishman Aura, Aura.
Fishman Aura. Wow.
The aura around you. And I worked with Larry Fishman, and we had a process where we record microphones at different distances. We just use one microphone at a time and go 8 inches, 12 inches, 4 inches, away from the guitar, and then decide. And then that he had a computer process that would emulate that microphone. Follow that microphone and take on the personality of that microphone.
Wow, that's amazing. It's almost like a plug-in, but in a pedal in a way. Like
it is. And I really think of them as, I don't think of them as different microphones. I think of them as treble or bass. They're all about different.
They're almost like IRs for like cab simulators and stuff in a way, but for microphones.
It's kind of the same thing. But they emulate these. They're just EQ. I use them as EQ. If I want something really bright, I know which microphone to go to get that. And it's a great thing. I mean, it allowed me to move on stage. instead of standing nailed to the floor in front of a microphone.
That's true. Yeah. Because you got your 57 on you right there. You can't move. Or you have a
Can't go
wireless,
anywhere.
but
you walk away, nobody's going to hear you. But now I can walk around the stage the same as a telly player can, and it just freed me, and it made such a difference, and in my playing, and just a whole lot of things, and to be able to play against somebody else on stage, right in their face, instead of from across the stage.
Yeah, it's no longer shoegaze. You can actually do a show.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing you're missing in that is the Mike Shipley gold microphone cable.
Oh man, he had everything. Yeah.
Talking about that, I know we're running out of time, and of course, Jerry Douglas, the set available now, and got some tour dates. Going to be performing pretty much all day through the rest of the month. Visit online on all the socials to get tour dates near you. My first ever exposure to bluegrass music in a way, or traditional instruments like that, was the Shania Twain Up Close and Personal DVD that she did in support of the Up album. And of course, you were the Dobro player on that. I'm just curious, do you have any funny tales or cool stories about working with Mutt on that? Was Mutt involved with the arrangements of that show? Or did he work with you guys at all? Or was it all up to you?
He did. We rehearsed all of the songs, just privately, just us. And then we had Mutt over, and Mutt said, "Sounds great." That's all he ever said. "Sounds great. Perfect. We're ready."
Wow.
So we went to do the show, and Shania showed up with a cold, so we had to do everything a step down. And nobody retuned. Nobody did anything. We just played. We just played them straight up. Just went ahead with them. Just a step down from what her normal vocal range would be.
Wow,
and it was really fun. It was fun playing that stuff. I think that secretly we were all really wanting to work with Mutt. We're all huge fans of Mutt. We're huge fans of Shania too, but Mutt Lange, man, he made records that were the soundtracks of our lives, and we were really interested in working with him and picking his brain.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the main reasons we took the gig, But then there was Shania, and I used my Aura to play through, so to go to direct most of the time. The only time my microphone was on during that whole show was they used it once when she said something about, "Oh, my suit, I think my suit's too tight," and I mumbled, "It looks pretty good to me," over on the side over there, thinking nobody would ever hear that. Yeah,
that's actually awesome.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing I said all night on the show. That's a really cool, funny little tidbit. That's all I needed to say. So I'll play the rest of the time. I don't need to do anything but play, and you look good.
From an arrangement standpoint, when you guys first get approached for the gig and you have to go learn all these parts, how did you decide on what parts to play? And because there's a lot of stuff happening on those records. Was it difficult for the band to come up with those arrangements?
No, we all just jumped into them and tried to capture the sounds that we thought were the most important. And anytime we get into any situation, I'm the electric guitar player. Mm-hmm. I'm that guy. Whoever's playing the wildest leads is probably going to be that's going to be put on me. And then Ron Block's going to play guitar or banjo against it, and Dan was totally capable of playing anything, and everybody in the band, but we did try to stick as close to the arrangements as possible, try to give her the lines that she would be looking for when she's starting into a chorus or into another verse or something. Lay down some markers for her, and the same as were on the record. And I think it turned out well. I thought I was really surprised.
Yeah, that is it's a fantastic DVD. I pull it up like at least once or twice a year. My buddy and I will just go back and watch that because we're just such music fans, and I just appreciate how a good song. if it's a good song, it can translate regardless of the arrangement. And
doesn't matter what genre you use it in. If it's a good song, it's going to stand up all by itself.
Yeah. I'm just so surprised that Mutt was just basically like, "Yep, that's great. Let's go record."
Yeah, we were too. We thought he was going to tear us apart. We were actually looking forward to it. It's sort of like a feed me, it was sort of like Steve Martin, the dentist, sort of like
you work your whole
Novocaine, please, no Novocaine.
Right. You work your whole career. You work your whole career to get to that point. Like, all right, we're finally working with Mutt. What's he gonna? You're good.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. What? No, come back. Let us try it again.
I mean, look, yeah. So I mean, then you guys eventually go work with Mike. I mean, was there any talk that possibly maybe Mutt could do something with Union Station, or was that ever thrown out there?
That was never thrown out there, to my knowledge. Alison may have checked into it, but I think that he was up to his ears in female artists at that point.
Yeah, there you go.
I worked with Mutt the first time on his first wife's record. She was an R&B singer, and that's when I met Shania. Shania was in the parking lot crying because Mutt was upstairs working on his ex-wife's record. There's nothing going on, and he kept me in there for all day long for 3 songs and just beat me to death, and I loved it.
Oh man, well look, we're running out of time, but next time you come back on the show, we're gonna have to talk about that because that sounds really cool.
It was fun, and it was a very challenging day, but I learned a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But man, I've enjoyed talking to you. Yeah, we can do this anytime you want.
Yeah, this is really fun. We're gonna have to keep in touch for sure. This is awesome. Jerry Douglas, The Set. Go pick it up now. It's available wherever you get your music, and some great shows. Go see some awesome live music. You can see him all across the stage. He doesn't have to stand there. He's got the aura.
I can walk anywhere I want.
He can
into your living room.
Yeah, he's gonna be up in the freaking balcony. I guarantee it.
I've got a wire to swing back to the stage. It's okay.
Yeah. He's on the Shawn Michaels thing coming from the rafters.
I don't think Garth Brooks can make it that far anymore, but I'll give it a shot.
I love that. All right, Jerry, I'm gonna let you go. Thanks a lot for taking the time. We'll do this again.
All right, man. You take care.
An all-new episode of The Jeremy White Show.
Available wherever you stream.